Jamie. Like to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order, and the first order of business is roll call.
Cowell? Zach? Here. Long?
Here.
Taub? Here. Fleming?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Woodward? Quarles? Here. Middleton?
Here. Oh, thank you. We have a quorum, and now I'll pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of September 20th, 2018. Quarles and Crawford. Any discussion on those minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. The next is the presentation of the agenda. I have no changes. Anyone else? You move the agenda. Fleming moves the agenda. Zach supports it. Any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is public comment. And Chris?
I wanted to introduce our new intern, Selena.
Yes.
She's taking her master's degree in public administration at Oakland University, and she's a welcome new addition to our team.
Good. Welcome.
Welcome, Selena. Yeah. And then we have a guest also, not the bridge, but Mr. Olbrich. Would you like to stand up and be introduced? Sure. Commissioner.
I'm about this tall.
Yeah. Commissioner Olbrich, but up in the northern end, everybody knows Olbrich. It's the bridge over M24 of the Pollyanna Trail. And so we know it is. Whenever they talk about the Olbrich, they think they're talking about the bridge. But today we're talking about something else. So thank you. How many years were you a commissioner?
11.
Oh.
No, yeah, no applause for Larry.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? If not, we'll close public comment and move to the contingency report. Need a motion to receive and file contingency. Long is moving it. Woodward is supporting the contingency report. Yep.
Okay, in your contingency packet on PDF page 3, the general contingency balance is $16,018. There are no items on today's agenda that impact that general contingency balance. On PDF page 9 of your report, there is the utilization of miscellaneous capital outlay for fiscal year 2019 in the amount of $5,701 for the use of monies at the Troy District Court for the replacement of assisted listening device equipment. On
that was on page 9 of the contingency.
PDF page 9, yes. On PDF page 16, on the equity report, there are 2 items on today's agenda. Item number 13 and 14 that are the appropriation of additional.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
The listening equipment at Troy, that one previous to this, and that's being pulled out of the 19 budget in order.
Yes, we already have we have a 3-year budget, so that we know that they're not going to be able to purchase them. They were not able to make the requisition and do the purchase order in time for our 2018. So we have a balance in 2019 that we're utilizing it.
So, okay. Okay, now we're on page 16.
On PDF page 16, there are 2 items number 13 and 14, that are for the additional appropriation of tri-party funds for projects that were previously approved. They are utilizing, these are both for Commerce Township, in the combined amount of $24,890. And finally, on pages...
That's ones that went over 15%?
Correct.
Okay.
And on PDF pages 18 and 19, you have your final report for the West Nile virus expenditure allocation. It's my understanding from the health department that all funds that were requested have been utilized. There were no requests to extend or to submit future bills. So we ended up with we have an appropriation of $191,000 that was for West Nile and Zika, and roughly $169,000 of that was utilized.
Okay, so 20,000 that weren't, okay. Any questions on the contingency report? If not, all those in favor of receive and file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is communications. We'll take communications A and B. Need a motion for Fleming is moving it. Quarles is supporting it. So, any questions on communications? Shelley?
Yes, thank you. Communications B, is that Northland?
I
didn't
think
read
it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just has an address here, 26,000 Evergreen Road. That it can't
That's
be.
not Northland. I
But
just
this is
wondered, Nancy, do you know where it is? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's actually the council chambers address.
Yeah. The City Hall.
So this is a legal notice for their brownfield development plan.
Nancy. Okay, Nancy, you want to comment on that?
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's being held in the city council chamber.
Okay.
For the brownfield development
But
plan.
I wanted to know what was being developed in Southfield. But where's the brownfield? Help me. That's what I'm trying to say. Nobody
No.
knows?
Yeah, please, please.
Okay, and I'm thinking, okay. Okay. It's got 35 residential pieces of property.
Yeah, but there was a big development at Northland, and I just wondered if that was part of it.
This isn't, I know it's not Northland, because that's coming.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll be getting that in 2 months.
Okay.
The council was,
Evergreen Road,
Council
Northland was on
gatherings,
Evergreen, wasn't it?
properties,
2600 is the.
and that's what they're looking at.
Oh,
I just don't know exactly where all the properties are.
Okay, so it's multiple properties,
Yeah,
and they're all brownfield, are they residential?
some of them will multi-dwelling.
Okay, thank you.
On page 2 of that document, it indicates that this is a neighborhood revitalization for 2018. And it includes 35 residential zoned properties.
And that can be a brownfield? Okay.
Multi-dwelling.
Yep.
I think to answer your question about Northland, I suspect it should be here after the year first.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions on communications, either A or B? If not, all those in favor of receive and file signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Now we're going to the regular agenda. Item number 1, Circuit Court probation, deletion, creation, and reclassification. And it was at Human Services yesterday and passed unanimously. So,
Good.
go ahead. Oh, I need a motion. Kowal and Zach.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Bilson. I'm the Deputy Court Administrator. To my left is John Cooperator from my office. This resolution deals with some position changes that we would like to make with your agreement, obviously. Currently, we have a court clinic service coordinator. That individual has recently retired within the past couple months. We've looked at that position, my 2 supervisors below me, and they think that that can be changed to just a technical assistant based on the job duties, which would create obviously a savings. We would like to take that savings and take a part-time paralegal that we have assigned to the Personal Protection Order Office and make that a full-time. Our violations of personal protection orders we've already met from the previous couple years, and we're already in the only in the month of October. So we see a great need for that. Regarding financially, there would still actually be a savings for the county for the first 2 years. And obviously, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? If not, we'll call the roll on item number 1.
Kowal?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Tubb?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 2, Circuit Court, Friend of the Court, position funding change. We have a blue sheet on it, and Long is moving it, and Fleming is supporting it. It passed Human Resources yesterday unanimously with a few questions. Go ahead,
Thank
Suzanne.
you. I'm Suzanne Hollier. I'm the director of the Front of the Court. And thank you for allowing me to expedite this onto your docket. I appreciate it. I couldn't make the normal schedules due to other obligations. This is really a small move of one position from one source of our complicated funding stream to another source of our complicated funding stream. The net result really is the medical incentive that we get, that we have been using to pay for this, will just go to the county, and we'll put this position in under our normal great big grant that funds all the rest of our positions. It's more stable, it's more appropriate for the work she's doing, and I think it'll be better going forward long term. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that.
Shelley, go ahead.
I'm a little bit, explain, the second line says, the Friend of the Court receives Medicaid incentive funding from the enforcement of court-ordered Medicaid reimbursement that is transmitted, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Explain that, I'm a little bit.
Okay, that's something that came up just a few years ago. Someone at the state realized, we collect to reimburse the state for public assistance, including Medicaid, also cash grants. But it was
What
found.
do you mean you collect?
So when child support is ordered, if someone is a recipient of public assistance, instead of them getting the child support, it goes to reimburse the state.
Okay.
And same if the child is being supported by Medicaid, a very small piece of the order, instead of going to the family to reimburse them for co-pays and such, goes to the state to reimburse them for the cost of the Medicaid, which has no co-pays.
Right.
So that's the logic behind it.
Okay.
We found a reg that said 15% of what we collect, Medicaid is supposed to give back to us for our efforts. And so we came up with 2 things we wanted to do with that source of money. One of them was fund our job placement office, which we've been doing. It is declining because, like all of our public assistance, it's declining.
Good.
It is. But also, I'm not entirely convinced that the department is going to allow that to just stay in their reg forever. And this job placement position is very important to our operations. When we bring people in for enforcement of child support, we like to give them an option, not just like go deal with it, but we'll help you deal with it. Go to our job placement office and we'll help you find a job. We'll help you build a resume. We'll give you this list of all these jobs that are available in the community. So this position is really very important to us. Previously was funded through Work First and through the county workforce development. But we took on the funding for that when this funding source became available. And now what I'm asking to do is transfer it to a more secure kind of, longer term, for sure available source of funding.
Well, to me, it sounds wonderful. You can put people to work. I think that's fabulous, so,
We try.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? Just look at the blue sheet. The revenue, it's the dark. It's going to CRP from reimbursement medical incentive, or am I the other way around?
That's correct. To CRP from medical.
Okay. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions on item number 2? If not, call the roll.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cobb,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Quarles.
Yes.
Cowell.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
you.
Next is prosecuting attorney, fiscal year 2019 crime victim rights grant acceptance. And this went to public service on October 2nd, earlier this week. Tob is moving it. Long is supporting it. So go ahead.
Good morning. The resolution approves the fiscal year 2019 reimbursement grant award from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to the Prosecutor's Office. This is the 27th year of grant acceptance, and the contract amount is $243,253 with no required county match. The award is increased $4,800 over last year, and this amount is provided by the state and occasionally for computers. The grant reimburses the salaries and partial fringes for 4 victim services positions.
Good. Any questions? Seeing none, we will call the roll. Item number 3.
Long,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 4. Oh, Shelley, you're going to like this one. Fiscal year 2018 DNA Capacity Enhancement and Backlog Resolution Program Acceptance. And Tob is moving it, Long is supporting it.
Yes. How many years?
What, McKay, what you in charge today, Gaia, let him be out on the road?
I brought backup though, so
Oh,
I
okay.
brought the experts with me, so. Good morning,
Okay,
everybody.
Good morning.
The motion's before us. Go ahead, Gaia, and
Okay,
explain.
so I have with me Major Robert Smith, Kent Gardner, who is the administrator of the lab, and Dorothy Catella, who is the DNA biology lab supervisor. So, what you have before us is a grant for $150,000. It's a new grant from the U.S. Department of Justice. What we're hoping to do is create a forensic biologist position to help with the DNA backlog. Yes, we have a backlog already, so I know Commissioner Tauby, you're going to have a lot of questions, and so we have
The
experts
answers.
with us.
Okay. Go ahead, Shelley.
I think this is terrific. Obviously, I support this, and I'm sad to hear we have a backlog, but we're all approved, got all the federal grant money in, and the FBI and the CIA and everybody else approved us, right?
Yes, we're accredited. So Dorothy can you give us a little
Yeah,
background?
yesterday
Yes,
you
she did, yeah.
explained how the backlog works. There's priorities, and then there's a backlog created after. That explanation would be good, helpful today.
Sure, yeah. So when cases come in, I basically triage them based on the file class of the crime that's been committed. So, you know, your property crimes get a lower priority. Those go to the bottom of the stack. Homicides and sexual assaults and crimes against persons get pushed up to the front. So those are put into, you know, the soonest batches possible, and then property crimes are dealt with at, you know, after that point.
And you said April probably on the backlog.
We are backed up to April on
On
property crimes, and we're into July for sexual assaults.
Ooh.
And priority ones, though, are 10 days.
We'd get those into the next batch as soon as possible.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Shelley.
How long, once you get, let's say you have a priority one, I'm not gonna go to that, yep, and how long does it take you from the time you receive it to the time you get it out to the police departments or whomever,
Sure.
prosecutors or whatever?
So of course, everything you know, everything has its own different timeline. We have gotten them out in as soon as 3 to 4 days. If it's not as such a priority where it's important, but it doesn't have a court date, or they're not waiting to arrest somebody, you know, 1 to 2 weeks.
Wow, okay. How long does it take you to physically do the testing, basically?
Well, we do everything in a batch system, and that's just a cost savings for everybody. So it can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And are we just doing this for our local, our Oakland County folks?
Oakland County is our primary concern, yes, but we have gotten some from Macomb County as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? It's been a long time coming. We still now we can talk about actually getting it done. So, if there's no other questions, we will call the roll on item number 4.
Taub,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 5, Sheriff's Office, transfer of ownership and release of claims agreement for K9 dog Blitz.
Yes, so Blitz is retiring
Oh,
after
wait, I need a motion. Okay. Fleming is moving it, Cowell supporting it. Okay, now go ahead.
So
Gail.
Blitz is retiring after 7 years of service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's about standard, isn't it?
Yes, we've been
from-
about 7 or 8 years, and I think one of the questions at Public Services a few weeks ago was the longest serving, and that was 9.5 years, so.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay, any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 5.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles, Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Next is Sheriff's Office transfer of ownership and release of a claims agreement for canine dog Clay. Colwell's moving it, Quarles is supporting it, so,
Okay, so K9 Clay is retiring after 7.5 years.
okay. And you're getting the same questions as you did on the other.
Yes.
Any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 6.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 7, Water Resources Commissioner interjurisdictional property insurance agreement with the Village of Lake Orion. Need a motion? Fleming is moving it, Colwell is supporting it, so. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Tim Prince, Chief Manager for Water Resource Commissioner. With me today is Kelsey Cook, Senior Attorney for Water Resource Commissioner. Our office operates and maintains the sewer system for Lake Orion Village via contract. One of the things the village has asked us to do is secure property insurance on their behalf for the sewer lift stations within the sewer system. They're a smaller community, and for them to secure that insurance, it would be more costly, and it's much easier for us to do it as part of the operations and maintenance of the system. And Kelsey, if you have anything to add.
Sure. So the agreement before you is an interjurisdictional property insurance agreement. This just memorializes the agreement between the Village of Lake Orion and the county in regard to the property insurance to cover 16 sewer lift stations within the Village of Lake Orion. It allows the county to have, and the village to have that insurable interest if there ever were a claim. The relationship between the two parties in regard to the insurance is documented in this contract.
Probably pretty important insurance, because if a lift station fails, it could do a lot of damage, so.
Yep, that's
Yep,
right.
so. Shelley?
Do we do this for other communities as well?
Yeah, we got.
Or is it offered for them?
Yes, most of the larger communities secure it on their own because they have other insurance covering their properties. In the case of Lake Orion Village, again, the smaller communities typically have us do it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 7.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 8, Water Resources, Charter Township of Oakland Sewer System Operation and Maintenance Agreement. I don't see anybody from that community. Who's making the motion? Colwell is making the motion, Fleming is supporting it. Go ahead. Same, no, it's a little different, yeah.
Yep, so this is an operation and maintenance agreement between Oakland County and Oakland Township for their sewer system. I think it was sometime last year, the board approved the water operation and maintenance agreement between the township and the county. So this is the sewer side. Just like the water contract, it provides a lot more detail than past contracts. It entails that the county is operating the system on a nonprofit basis, that all costs of operating and maintenance and all costs of the system will be an expense to Oakland Township Sewer System Fund. It provides a detailed scope of services for the services that the WRC provides, and also provides provisions about insurance. So that's general liability and public officials liability insurance coverage. The county is currently protected and has a policy in place to operate and maintain Oakland Township sewer system. However, the township is currently considering becoming a named insured on that policy as well. They have not made a decision yet. However, the language is included in the contract, so at any point, if they wish to pay the premium to be added as a named insured, they can do that.
Okay. We're providing service to them right now. This just cleans up the contracts, right?
That's right.
Yep, so, okay, any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 8.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cobb,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 9, Parks and Recs Commission Residential Lease Amendment to Oakland Urban Growers of Waterford Oaks. Need a motion. Crawford is moving it, Long is supporting it. Oh, okay, you don't want. Okay, Cowell is supporting it. Go ahead, Dan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Stencil, Executive Officer for Oakland County Parks. To my left is Phil Castoni, our Chief of Business Operations, and next to him is Mike Donlin, our Chief of Facilities Maintenance and Development. This is in regarding to a property on Scott Lake Road, approximately 6 acres of land that does encompass a residence and also a greenhouse operation. Phil will take you through the residential lease with Oakland Urban Growers.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Actually, I'm going to kind of address 9 and 10 together. There's 2 separate leases, but it's really talking about the same complex.
Piece of property.
One's the house, one's the greenhouse complex, and the changes are in sync with each other. So we entered into an agreement back in August of 2017 with Oakland Urban Growers. They were the only bidder for this project to operate these facilities. We started off well. They were paying everything up front. They soon approached us with a small cash flow problem and asked to renegotiate the lease. Their requests were to waive fees and to dismiss previous charges. Our commission was not interested in that. The agreement that's in front of you is to defer the rent for 3 years, but that will be added in the next 3 years. So it's not waiving anything, it's just deferring the payments. It will include all the late fees that are in the lease. The major sticking point was the utilities. When we originally put these leases out, we followed our current practice for both facilities. Our residential leases, all the utilities are put in the tenant's name. Our other business leases, our utilities are kept in our name and then we rebill them quarterly. Because of this and us being on the hook, this amendment is going to force Oakland Urban Growers to put all those utilities in their name, taking us off the hook for those payments.
Okay.
They do currently owe us back utilities for the 2nd, 3rd, and now just as of yesterday, the 4th quarter. This amendment does make them make full of those back utility payments, which total $28,291. Except for $10,000, they can make full of all of them, but they can make full everything except $10,000 because we do have a security deposit of $10,000 that would cover us if they don't pay that. But they have 12 months to pay that remaining $10,000. The rent is deferred for 3 years and then added in the following 3 years. And that schedule is in the lease amendment.
Long has a comment.
And they've heard it. I was the only no vote yesterday at the Parks Commission. And although I think that they have a business plan and I'm not against their business, and I think they're moving in the right direction, and then that greenhouse was just sitting there empty, and I get it. But I'm really worried about their cash flow with their business plan. We're getting I don't think they're going to be able to pay in 3 years. I hope I'm wrong. I told these the gentlemen that own it to their face that I have to vote no. And I just think that because it's a private business, we're giving them a 3-year extension. And like I said, in parks, it'd be like me on the farm. If we can't pay something, we go out of business. I can't like extend something for 3 years and defer payments and say I can't pay my property tax. And so I'm a little concerned because it's public monies and we're deferring payments for 3 years. And I hope they can pay it back, but I'm not really confident with their business plan that they can pay it back. So therefore, I was a no, and I was the only no on parks. People agreed and had the concerns, but they voted yes. But that's where I am, and I just wanted to explain why I'm a no. And I just have some really huge concerns about their money flow to pay back. And I'm glad the utilities are going in their name. That's just one step because we were in, they were in our name. But I mean, I want to say publicly, I hope they're successful and can pay it back. But I'm very concerned, so I'm voting no on this.
I have Tom and then Zach.
I have some concerns as well. We're not a bank, okay? And we can't foreclose on the property and then resell it. The other thing is, we're using the money of all of the people in this county to give these people a break. They're behind $10,000. They're behind in their utilities, all kinds of sorts of things. To me, it would be far more prudent to take the $10,000 and say, I'm sorry, but go find a greenhouse or whatever it is they're looking for someplace else. If the land sits there, I get it, I understand it, find some other tenants for it. But I have major problems doing something like this to a failing business. I don't see us, I mean, again, we're not a bank. That's not our role, I don't think. Our role is to support business and give them the tools to go out and operate. Maybe what they need to do is take their business plan over to One Stop Shop or something and figure out how to work out a business plan, but I can't support this.
They have
Go ahead,
worked,
Dan, do
yeah,
that.
they have, and are working with the One Stop Shop and working with business development. One of the issues for parks in its current state without any activity, in a mothballed state, we're spending almost $50,000 in costs to keep the greenhouses inflated and operate, in an operational status. So this also, there is a component of public education, and they are required to have at least 12 days of public open house educational programs. They have a very innovative hydroponics system where they're using H3 technology for the water, which has so far been very successful in the trial testings that they've done within the operation. So there is public benefit as well as benefit to the park system in terms of cost savings.
Yeah, you can continue, Tom.
Well, maybe that's not the business the parks ought to be in, having a greenhouse. I know MSU on wherever it's called, Meadowbrook Road, Tollgate,
Oh,
thank you.
Tom,
They have a
Tollgate.
phenomenal program of greenhouses and cows and pigs and chickens. In addition to that, there are greenhouse, I don't know if we have a greenhouse, we have the Bowers Farm that all kids are welcome to in the whole entire, it's owned by the Bloomfield Hills School District. It's on Square Lake Road, so children can have that experience of going to a farm and seeing things grow and all that kind of thing. Maybe this is something the parks have to take a good look at and say, should we be in the greenhouse business? Should it be costing us $50,000 a year to run a facility, even if they're not there? So I'm not gonna support this because I don't think we're in the business of loaning money or giving stuff away or free rent to people. Thank you.
Okay, to that answer, go ahead.
To Mrs. Topp's point about parks being in the greenhouse business, when we purchased the property in 2009, we gave it a 5-year shot at trying to manage that. We went into it growing our own annuals for the park system. We couldn't grow enough. We only had about 1,500 flats to grow in 35,000 square feet of heated space. So that really wasn't cost effective to do that. We even implemented a community garden program through the winter months, from October through April. That went on for about 3 years. But we were getting about $150 a plot for 69 plots, but it was costing us about $450 to operate. So we were looking at different ways and alternatives to utilize the greenhouses, and we just kept coming up short of trying to at least get a benefit from a park system out of it. We implemented programs. We had reef building. We had natural resource growing. We were growing natural native plants, and the issues that came into those things and growing is that we were doing that all with part-time staff. So it's a full-time operations to do those types of things. The greenhouse just sitting there is what the $50,000 cost. When we were in operations during that 5 years, we were approximately $100,000 to $110,000 just in operational costs, bringing in about a savings of somewhere between $50,000
$15,000 and $20,000. So we did try to do those things. We were looking at other alternatives, and that's what prompted the RFP process.
Well, maybe the greenhouses have to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Next I have Zach, and then I have Woodward's, Quarles, and then Long for a second time.
So we got into this business because we acquired the greenhouses.
The land and.
Okay, the land with the greenhouses. It wasn't necessarily part of our mission and the focus of what we should be doing in Parks and Recreation. So I'm questioning, I would rather take that $50,000 that we're investing in something that's not mission to Parks and Rec, put it somewhere else. And mothball these, I just don't understand. I hear that we tried to make a go out of it. You know, we acquired it not looking for it, and I commend your efforts, but it's not our expertise. You know, we have MSU Extension, MSU doing fabulous things in this. I love our county farmers market, I think we've done it. But I think that it would be better if we got out of this business sooner versus later. So that's just my opinion. I'm not very supportive.
Okay, next I have Woodward and then Quarles.
Okay, all right, so I guess my feelings on it, I think it's pro greenhouse. I think anytime that we can add educational opportunities, I think about it. I mean, the question is like the balance of the dollars. And so other than the 12 days of education,
Community days.
not clear exactly what we're doing. It's like, come on, hello world, come on.
Yeah.
Open house, tours.
Okay, so are they actively promoting it?
To my understanding, yes, and they're also partnering with Oakland schools in their technology campuses to support it.
So other than that, is there any, I guess, quantify for me the public benefit of having these greenhouses operating for us?
Well, the Conservation District runs a tree sale out of that.
I like
Yeah.
the green building.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife can be on some travel trips. I gotta figure out some places to bring the kids. Green building, I mean, like, you understand, at $50,000 value, I mean,
Yeah.
they have something to occupy them. No, in serious, I mean, the rebuild and tree sale stuff, but is that it?
The other thing that they are implementing a technology. Dan mentioned the H3 growing technology. It's an organic technology. It's also aquaponics, which are very limited in our area. In Oakland County, I'm not aware of another aquaponic growing area. So from a business development and promotion of trying, farming and things like that, there can be, learning tours that people can come in for new businesses. They're open to those. Those are the types of things that could be a possibility. Have we done those? No. But it's a newer technology, so you can be, expanding the actual aquaponic growing business by having something like this in Oakland County.
They own that. They own that. We don't own that.
We don't own it.
No.
That's part of their business.
So, okay, so we're $10,000 in the rears, is that the?
They
No.
are, in utilities, as of yesterday, they are $28,291.91. If this amendment is approved, they have to pay at least $18,291.91. That remaining $10,000 would be covered under their security deposit that we already have, and then the rent is just deferred. So
And they would have the 3 years?
it's deferred for 3 years, then it's paid back basically double for the next 3 years, including late fees.
And the utilities goes in their name, so
Yep.
then
They
they're
have
never
that
in the
name.
rears with utilities after this.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. So
And
we're
they're
not
done.
on the hook. Right now, they owe us that. I mean, we don't sign this amendment. I don't know what will happen. And they have 14 days from this is approved to sign and get all those things done. So, I mean, if they don't fulfill those obligations in 14 days, we're kicking them out.
They're in
So I guess so they grow food.
Yes.
What do they
They're
do?
good.
They're selling at wholesale or right to restaurants locally. I mean, they're dealing with a lot of the local restaurant business to provide that farm to fresh right to the table. That's where their primary business is.
And year round.
Yeah.
So,
In green, and a lot of greens, so
Yeah.
lettuces and microgreens.
okay, Dave? Do you have a comment back, or you want?
Well, the floor, and then if you, they did, and I feel bad, I mean, for them, they put money into it, how much money did they put in? So I'm not, they did put money into it.
Oh, yeah.
For the greenhouses, they put, what, 200 and something thousand,
Right.
what was it?
150,000-ish between their
Because
investment
the
and
greenhouse
deployment.
maintenance and stuff. So, I mean, I wanted them to succeed, but when we got the greenhouses, I wanted the greenhouses demolished a long time ago. I didn't think we should be in the greenhouse business. That was me. I was alone. I think it's like everyone was so excited about that hydroponic stuff. I just think these businesses are very hard to succeed in. And I'm concerned about what they owe, so. But I did wanna say that they did invest, so I do feel bad, they invested in those greenhouses now, in repairs, and they used the money for repairing the greenhouse.
In the timing, they got
So
in.
they lost that money if they're kicked out.
Right. They got in last October, and they didn't have a crop until, I think, early in 18.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I visited it in the spring of 18, and they did build planters and technology that comes from. We were in Amsterdam a few years ago, and that whole country of the Netherlands is all greenhouses and this hydroponic growing, and it's yeah. So okay, now I'm going to go back to my list. I had Quarles after Woodward, then Crawford, and Cole.
Thank you.
Well, everybody's going to get it, and I got Fleming.
Most of my questions have already been asked, but the only other question that I have is looking towards the future. With this the growers, do you see a business plan or a proposal in which they can be successful?
It appears the direction that they're headed now, especially with this new technology, there is an opportunity. They also, as part of their responsibility, they're replacing the roof of one of the main structures of the facility at their cost, not our cost. So there appears to be an opportunity.
So.
With some of the financing, are they looking at other options, trying to?
They're raising capital. Yep, they have.
Investors.
And they have secured some additional investors.
And lastly, you mentioned 14 days, we don't sign this amendment. What would be the process, what would happen within the 14 days if for some reason this isn't approved?
If this is not approved, then we're going back to the original lease that they are
In default.
We will, they know we are negotiating in good faith and we're taking this through the approval, so it would be on them to get 100% caught up immediately or be in default. And then if they're in default, we'd take the direction from our commission to look at the termination clause and start to exercise that.
Thank you.
Okay, next I have Crawford and then Fleming.
Yeah, part of the problem with the whole situation is, I think Dan kind of hit on it. They really started in October, and they ran in. You can imagine they're not going to be selling a lot of produce or whatever they sell out of there until summertime or whatever. It just didn't work out right. There was a startup cost that kind of got them behind. Also, this is it part of 6-acre purchase? That's adjacent to Waterford Oaks?
Correct.
So we had, the commission had that opportunity to purchase land to expand the footprint of Waterford Oaks. So this was all part of it, and that's the reason we did that to start with. And if it just sits there without being demolished at this point in time, it's several thousands of dollars a year just to maintain it in a state that is not productive. So I think under the circumstance we find ourselves in, I think this is the best alternative. Wouldn't be my first choice of an alternative, but under what we find ourselves in now, I think this is the best choice.
I will say on the October 1st start date, they did not want to start October 1st. That was our demand, and purely because the heating season coming up for the winter, we didn't want to put those energy bills. So we kind of mandated the start date, put the onus on them to get their business up and running. So.
Okay, next I have Fleming and then Colwell.
Yeah, this is a tough one, Dan. I know when you went out with this RFP, they were the only game in town, right? No one else actually complied to come back with anything, so we thought, well, we have to give them a shot. I think they're doing everything they can, working with the one-stop shop and all, and working. And my question is, if we don't do this and they default, would we propose as a parks to keep the property, or would we put it up for sale? What would we do? Because if it's just sitting there and it's a cost, what can we do? What are our options to try to get out of this agreement? Is there another option?
One of the options that we were looking at, if the RFP did not, present any opportunities, we were looking at reaching out to, and actually part of that RFP was a demolition.
Okay.
Location, and we didn't have any interested parties in that either at the time. There are other, since then, there are other opportunities that have arisen, over this couple of years that we can explore if they were in default and this agreement, this amendment was not approved today. But I don't think as a park system, we've tried the business plan of 5
Right.
years to operate it, seeing what we have, knowing that we aren't in that isn't our primary mission goals, that we would probably look to have it relocated elsewhere in all the equipment, and whether
And
that's
retain the property.
retain the property, but
Keep the facility.
greenhouse
Move the
is
greenhouse.
relocated.
Can I have a follow-up?
Yeah, go ahead.
To relocate the greenhouse, though, would that be another extraordinary expense? Or that would be cost neutral, or what would it be?
We would hope cost neutral.
Yeah, to us.
To us.
And the cost would be borne by the entity that would propose to relocate them, whether it's a private entity or it's a public. First priority would be to have it go public.
That's a bridge we would have to cross and negotiate when we get there, if we get there.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a final thought. And the reason we would do that, because if we could relocate it cost neutral, it would save us $50,000 a year,
That's
not
right.
having to keep it inflated.
Absolutely.
And then we'd still have the property, but would not have the expense of keeping it inflated $50,000 a year.
Okay, I got, Colwell's the only one that hasn't spoke yet. and She's on the list. And then I have, for a second time, I have Long, Woodward, and Top. So go ahead.
Okay, what would the parks be out if we don't, so you'd be out like $18,000 in arrears to,
I can't say what we'd be out because I don't know if they would pay anything or if they would come up with money and pay us everything they owe.
don't we already have $10,000?
We have
We have
10,000, but
So-
they're behind another 10,000 in rent already. That's part of the 3 years. That's already included in the 3-year deferment, so.
So it's not like they're getting it waived.
So, and you'd be on the hook for the full amount that they owe utilities?
Yeah, 28,200. If they
Okay.
walked out the door today, we'd keep the 10 and we'd be out 28 too.
Right, but we would probably take action
You would take action?
against them, which costs money and resources. And
Right. Well, gosh. What assurances, if any, that they are going to make good on this? I mean, I don't know how these agreements work. I know that, if certain situations you're required to have collateral, but, I don't know if this applies in this situation or not, or, what assurances do we have beside a wish and a prayer?
The terminology in the agreement itself with the termination and how we proceed and the process within that language, that's what we have to ensure that we move forward. And where it ends up is another thing.
Yeah.
One more?
Yeah.
It was mentioned MSU Extension. Have you approached them to see if they're interested? You have, they're not.
We actually did some programming with MSU Extension in the greenhouse when we first acquired it.
Uh-huh.
And everything. So we did some cooperative things.
But they're not
And-
interested in.
Well, and they may be interested.
But not to own the property, not to run the greenhouse.
Not to
That's not
run
their
it in
thing.
that location.
Yeah.
They may be interested in taking those facilities and relocating them, as you
At
had
Tollgate.
mentioned, Commissioner,
Yeah.
at their Novi location.
Thank you.
And that's Americana owns Tollgate. I don't think MSU Extension owns Tollgate.
Will they be, manage it? I
They
think
just
it's-
manage
think
it,
it's a
I
lease.
think. Oh, do they? Okay. So, okay, next in long, just gonna let it go. Woodward?
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, so I don't actually have a full understanding of their business model. Like, I don't know if the owners of the owners are taking income coming out of this, like, how much income are they taking? Do they take this income and pay me?
It's my understanding they're not taking any income
Well, that makes me feel
during
better
this.
about it. But, so, did I understand this correctly, guys? So our cost, if, just for us to continue to operate this thing is $50,000 a year.
2 months.
If this.
They're not there.
If they're not there, correct.
It's $50,000 a year. So, I look at this in 2 ways. Now, one, that we're using a public asset, private enterprises renting to use, and maybe grow successfully, and I wish them all the best to do that. If we didn't, I mean, for $50,000, could we run 12 months of programming? If there was someone that would come in and run
Yeah.
programming, education programming, 28 school districts, and I'm like, I mean, that's a public value that I could get my head around if I knew what that was. I mean, 12 days is less exciting. And I've never been, I mean, I knew that was part of the original thing, but I guess I've never, I wasn't in there with the programming. So, I mean, I would be, I'm interested in actually thinking through that, but, I mean, this business model doesn't seem to actually be able to make it. The rent that it owes us, I mean, that's not like money we needed to run the system. It just basically, that's less money to offset our cost of operating. So it's a little bit different. Utilities, we gotta pay somebody else, so, we got 10,000 in the bank already from them.
Yep.
So there's an 8,000, deficiency
18.
there, clear that at 18, well, they're 18.
18.
They owe 18, we have.
10.
We're holding 10.
We
So
have 28.
No, they owe 28, and we're holding 10.
Right, 28 days.
And other rent. I know, it's and other rent.
This is my first cup of coffee. I missed that now.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Okay, Todd for a second time.
Okay.
You had a comment?
I just wanted to follow up on the programming aspect
Yes.
of the question that you had. We did that for 5 years, and that requires staffing levels and
Yes.
stuff that we would have to do. With that $50,000, when we're talking about mothballing, we don't have staff assigned to it.
Right.
We don't have any of those resources going into that facility. And in fact, from a facility standpoint, if the plastic were to begin to fail, we would be slowly deconstructing because we wouldn't be investing into new roofs or anything like that. So those are the types of things that would end up happening with that. But from the programming standpoint, we gave it, I mean, we got great programmers and stuff that gave it a shot on that.
So, okay, next I have Tom, and then Crawford.
Okay, many years ago, most of you, all of you, except for maybe Lori Van Pelt and me and Larry Obrecht, remember a man by the name of Cole Sante. He was a county commissioner.
Ron Consali.
Yes, and he owns a farm, or he's now deceased sadly, but his family owns a farm market, and we took a trip to see hydroponics to Canada. And I kind of believe that if anybody in the farm market business like Colsante, they own the hydroponics in Canada. It's just outside of Windsor, as I recall. If they felt that this was a marketable, doable thing, they would have been hopping on your place like this. And they still own their hydroponics, mostly tomatoes and stuff, in Canada. So I think we got into something we shouldn't have been in. That's my personal opinion. I think you need to tear those things down or sell them to somebody and use the property as an addition to Waterford Oaks, and I don't know, put a swimming pool in there. I'm being silly, but I don't know, do something with the property other than losing money year after year after year. It's costing you $50,000 in electricity to run it annually. I don't see any benefit for it. And the other thing is this. With hydroponics, and he gave us a good long lesson in it, if you recall, Larry Obrecht, big, long lesson. They grow like this, okay? If you take something over in October, you ought to be having a crop in December. So, so I don't think, I'd like for these people to succeed in whatever business they have, but I can't support this. This is not the thing that I think we should be into. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Crawford, for a second time.
I just want to put a little something in perspective. There was considerable discussion from the Parks and Rec Commission. And the Parks and Rec Commission has a tremendous diverse representation on that commission. We have 3 commissioners. We have 2 majority, 1 minority. Chris and I are the 2 majority. Gary McGilvery is the minority representative. We have a representative from the administration. We have a representative from the Road Commission. We have a representative from the Water Commission. And we have 3, I think it is, maybe 4 citizens at large. And they have very diverse backgrounds. So this wasn't something that just we all of a sudden came up with. We find ourselves in this situation, and after a lot of discussion, we determined, the commission, -1, that this was the best solution to solve the problem we find ourselves in. So it's not something that was done on the spur of the moment or in the dark. So it was recommended by the majority of the commission that this is what we should do.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have one question. I don't have any more on my list, but I have one question. This is a 5-year contract. Is there an opt-out in between?
It's longer than 5 years, but there is an opt-out for both sides that it do not tie us to a long-term contract. Even though it is a long-term lease, there is an opt-out for both sides.
Okay, so if things are deteriorating, they're not making the improvements that they need to be able to continue their business plan, we can step in and terminate the.
Absolutely.
Okay, that I think you need to keep an eye on that operation. Like I said, I visited. They did do the upgrades they've done. Their growing plots are look vibrant, well cared for. Disease is something when you get into a greenhouse, it can travel really fast, and they have security to make sure that doesn't happen. So, so I'm going to support the resolution, but if there's no other questions, we'll take a roll call. Go ahead, roll call on number 9. Oh, well, wait. Number 9 is the residence.
It's basically part and parcel, because if there isn't a residential lease, there's probably not going to be, and vice versa.
Okay.
So
And the
I don't know if
residential lease hasn't got
it's
the
your-
complications that the item number 10. So basically, Chris, if 9 is a residence and 10 is the greenhouse, if we voted yes on the 9 and then no on 10, 9 wouldn't make any difference.
No, doesn't matter.
So they're tie-barred, actually.
Yes.
That's
why
if you
vote
want
on
to treat
one,
them
vote
that
on the
way,
other.
that's probably the
They're together.
best way to address.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna tie-bar it into that explanation, although Woodward, Quarles, and Tom and I and Crawford understand tie-bar, and again, like,
Yeah. We understand.
I guess, Zach and Fleming are the only 2 that haven't been in the legislature. Oh, and Long, okay. There's 3 out of us that, anyway, it's tie-barred, so, they both have to pass in order for it to be, okay. Both 9 and 10 have to pass in order for either one of them to be activated. So, okay, so I'm calling the roll on item number 9. Quarles.
Mr. Chair, we're taking one vote on the 2 of them.
No, we're going to vote 9 and 10. Each they'll be individual, but if 10 fails, 9 won't be activated. So, okay. Call the roll on item number 9.
Cowell?
Yes.
Zach? No. Long?
No.
Todd?
No.
Fleming?
No.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
No.
Quarles?
No.
Middleton?
Yes.
We have 3 yeas.
Yeah.
So we have 2
Yeah.
yeas and 7 nays.
So, item 9 failed. Do we want to call a roll on number 10?
Yes.
Oh, we have to, it's on the agenda. Okay. Any discussion on 10? I think. Oh, okay, now I need a motion to have 10. Crawford's moving it, I'll support it. So, now item 10 is before us. Our discussion has been all about 10 anyway. Call the roll on item number 10.
Zach?
Sorry.
No. Long?
No.
Tug?
No.
Fleming?
No.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
No.
Quarles? No. Cowell?
No.
Middleton?
Yes. Motion failed. So now we're on, sorry, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Item number 11. Facilities management, facility maintenance operation, former animal shelter gazebo removal project. Need a motion, and Obrecht, you can't make the motion, so Fleming is moving it, Crawford is supporting it, so. Go ahead, you want to talk about it, which one of you, Art or Larry?
Well, I'm just gonna introduce it and then Larry can explain how this all developed. We have, an old gazebo that was donated to us several years ago at the old animal shelter up on
Yeah.
Brown Road. When the new animal shelter was built, a new gazebo was built on the property here on campus.
Mm-hmm.
The Pollyant Trail Council had approached through Larry, as far as I understand, he can explain more details, about possibly taking that gazebo and moving it out to the trail. So I'll hand it over to Larry right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you for putting this on your agenda. I appreciate that. The gazebo was donated in honor of a lady's father and his dog. And it was a significant cost. It's a very nice gazebo. Moving it is a huge project and would be very costly, even if you didn't have a gazebo here at the county. And what we would like to be able to do is move that gazebo to a site that we have at Joslyn and Clarkston Road, which is an intersection of the Paint Creek Trail, the Pollyant Trail, and the Iron Bell Trail, which goes all the way around the state. And we would create a SAG stop at that place. And so, being very familiar, obviously, with the gazebo, because I was at the animal shelter. Pardon me?
What's SAG?
That's a place where you stop and have a little orange juice, and you use our porta-john.
Be like
Yeah, right.
Be like a gazebo, right? Yeah.
Right. That's a, yeah. Yes, right, exactly. It's a resting place.
Yes.
Yes. So, so that is what we would like to do. Obviously, we work with donations, and we have the assistance of a contractor to be able to move it. We don't have the kind of money it would take to move it either. So that's what we would like to do, and I'd like your support.
Okay, I have Zach and Long. Lots of questions.
So I love that we're recycling this. I remember when you opened it up, it was a great place.
Yeah.
And so you have a contractor that's going to
Yes.
absorb the cost of it.
Correct.
Great.
Mhm. Yes.
You did a great job.
I thought she was gonna
Well,
say-
thank
And
you. Thank
you
you.
also got a letter from the daughter.
Yes.
That she agrees that this is the location.
Oh, yeah,
to go
she's
to.
thrilled.
Yeah.
Yes.
so-
Was attached with the resolution.
Yes.
Okay. I have Long and then Woodward.
That was my question. I'm just making sure the stipulation and that you'd contacted who donated it. So that was
yes,
my question. Thank you.
Yes.
So, I have Woodward and then Tom.
I think it's great. Does the trail have greenhouse?
You know, every once in a while, there's a sadness in my heart because I'm not at this table. And I would have weighed in on that very significant, very significant.
All right, I'm good on
Okay, Tom?
I think it's terrific. The only thing I wanted to make sure, I'm sure your contractor will somehow refurbish the wood in it so that it doesn't disintegrate or.
Oh,
get-
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
This is a good use and.
Yeah.
And I think it'll make people quite happy. It's very unique. I don't know of any trails that have a gazebo on them, but hey.
We
that's-
will.
I know.
We hope.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on item number 11? If not, call the roll.
Long,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles. Yes. Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is Department of Health and Human Services, Health Division, Oakland Schools, Great Parents, Great Start, and Home Visitation Grant Amendment. Zach is moving it, Long is supporting it. So, okay, go ahead.
Good morning. This resolution is to accept the Amendment 1 of the Home Visitation Grant for fiscal year 2018. It was to increase this grant, which is our NFP program, which is our nurses that are out in the homes doing very strategic criteria with the families. This is actually for our southern communities in Oakland County. This is what that grant enhances. It was increased by $24,999. And again, it helps support salaries, technology, and mileage for that second full or part-time employee nurse that is actually in that southern area.
Okay, any questions? If not, call the roll. Oh, Woodward has a question.
Just a clarification, is this by community or is there an eligibility?
NFP actually works with pregnancy or pregnant moms that are first-time mothers through their pregnancy up to 2 years. So there's a very strict criteria. For these two nurses that actually are part of this grant, we do focus on Oak Park, Southfield, Madison Heights, Hazel Park, Royal Oak Township, Ferndale, Southfield, Lathrop, Clawson, Troy, and Berkeley. We have another grant where we work on the northern part and Pontiac.
So if people opt in or they prefer?
They are referred and they are opt-in, so they can contact us. A lot of probably 90% of it is referrals from other agencies.
Okay. Zach, you got a question?
Well, I was just gonna clarify, there's a mandatory screening early on funding that Oakland Family Services and other providers do for certain early infants' age, and many of the referrals for the help come from that early screening.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 12.
Todd,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Next is item number 13, Board of Commissioners Tri-Party Program, additional appropriations for the Charter Township of Commerce, Project 5437-1, and Long is moving it, Todd is supporting it. So go ahead.
Good morning. In June of 2018, project number 54371 was approved for county funding in the amount of $37,500. The resolution before you requests an additional $13,265 for additional funding for this project.
So, okay. You got any comments, Chris?
Oh, I don't know what one this is, Far Street?
This is Oakley Park.
Yeah, the right turn lane on Oakley Park, yeah.
Okay, so, any questions? If not, call the roll on 13.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Oh, Crawford's out.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is 14, tri-party funds, additional appropriations, Charter Township, Project 54-382. Same location, I think, isn't it?
No, this is going to the school. The
Oh.
bumps are that big. They paved it.
Okay, I need a motion. Long is moving it, Fleming is supporting it, so.
Yeah, this project, 54382, was approved for county funding in the amount of $45,833. The resolution before you requests an additional $11,265 county funding for this project.
Okay.
I'm sorry, $625, $11,625.
And both of these come to us because it's 15%
It
over,
exceeds
at
the
least.
yes.
When it hits 15%, then it has to come back to us before it can be approved, so. Any questions? If not, all those in favor, or call the roll.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Caldwell?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Tubb?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yeah, oh, did you get Crawford?
Yes.
Okay, yes, for my vote, and motion carried. Is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee? If not, without objection, I declare the meeting adjourned.